Welcome to another edition of Driven to Lead. I'm your host, Wayne Brannon. In this program, we explore the real stories from key executives to find the leadership lessons that drove their success, whether in good times or bad. We got a great program for you today, so let's make it happen. One of the things I love about this program is that we have key executives from different industries on week to week, and today's no exception. We have a person that I'm sure you're going to engage with and really appreciate. Christopher Inverso is the CEO of Rainier Industries out of Seattle, Washington. Chris has been a CFO, a general manager. He's been transforming businesses for many, many years in engineering growth, and right now is taking his company over the 100 million revenue mark. So efficiency inside the company, growth outside the company. He's also an author. He's a founding member of a nonprofit that addresses poverty in our world. And he's also a USAA certified alpine ski racing coach. Chris, wonderful to have you on the program today.
Really a pleasure to be here, Wayne.
Yeah, it's great. As I said, I love the diversity of the guests that we have on. You're just an interesting man, and I just think it would be great if you could tell us about what's been happening in your company most recently. I see a recent press release here about an aggregation of the companies, the involvement of private equity, and a larger company that's done some acquisition. Tell us how this is setting you and your company up for continued growth.
You bet. Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff going. One, just to make sure that the record is accurate here, we were approaching $100 million before the event I'm about to tell you about, and then we've obviously got some great growth opportunities going after that. But Rainier itself ties its roots back to 1896 and the gold rush in Alaska and supplying tents and other tarps and structures and supplies for folks that wanted to make their fortune hopping on a boat and going up to Alaska and finding some precious metals. And fast forward to about 20, 30 years ago, the business really started to grow rapidly, grew with 17 acquisitions over about a 30-year period, almost 40 years. And I got involved with the business about 10 years ago. Very, very diverse company relative to its revenue, but a lot of really neat niches, market niches that it fit and met. And we got involved in grand format printing, so printing up to 16 feet wide. We like to call that stadiums to stores, so big stadiums, largely in the U.S., but some globally. Olympic Games. The 2002 Olympic Games were a big part of that in Utah, the 2012 Olympic Games in London, pictures that you see on TV, we were part of branding those things. But then when you go to shopping malls and shopping centers, the rollouts for Fortune 500 brands that you see there as well, and then a lot of things in between, corporate interiors, things like that. But also got involved in corporate event tents, clear span tents up to 50 feet wide. Got involved in glamping or glamorous camping, which is really popular these days. So if you've stayed in a major glamping resort, you've stayed underneath one of our structures. And then, some of the world's biggest engineering brands trust us to create custom fabric elements, whether it's launching rockets into outer space or sending planes back and forth globally. We're part of all those supply chains. So it's neat to be in the business that we're in. The exciting thing is that on the stadiums to stores, the visual branding side of things, we had a relationship with a customer who was a global strategic, the Look company, really heavily involved in visual branding globally at really the top level. I mean, again, think World Cup, think FIFA, think Olympics, but also so many other really marquee names and brands. And they acquired us at the end of August this year. So we are now part of the Look Group globally. So I think combined, we're probably going to start approaching printing 10 million square feet annually of print globally. Neat thing about us is we're really focusing on sustainability. A lot of what we do with fabric and Look Company's been leading the way, and we've been really working hard to catch up, and now we'll have that opportunity as part of their umbrella. But really to have everything that we do truly be sustainable, have it be recyclable, and now the brands can live up to a lot of the promises they have for their customers. So, and of course, then there's cross-selling of products and all the other fun things and great opportunities for our teammates. I could go on and on about those things, but I don't think that's really the main point here. But we got a lot of great things going. I think at the end of the day, Wayne, I'm really, really proud of our teammates and employees and what we've accomplished. I'm thrilled to be part of the Look company and to be a leader in that group. And I know the opportunity is really bright for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You know, it's so exciting to be a part of a new broadened organization. And as you said, the brands that the Look Company's been associated with, from Formula One to JLR and the Canadian
Yeah.
Games and all kinds of things, just kind of opens up so many doors and so many opportunities for your company and the whole group, right? So it's an exciting time. How are your employees kind of taking to this? Because I've been through a few kind of mergers and acquisitions over the years myself inside the company. And, there's always systems issues that you need to sort out, and there's processes that need to be aligned. How is that working out? Is everyone embracing that? Is it pretty much harmonious at this point in time? You feeling good about it?
It really is a lot like the average relationship you have either with friends or family members. There's some things stay the same, some things change, and you need to work really closely and communicate. And I believe that that's true when it comes to engaging. We call them teammates, but our employees in that
Yeah.
regard. When for those under the Rainier umbrella, we were spoiled because we had the same owner from essentially 1984 through 2021. And we still have employees that actually predate that owner. One of them celebrated his 45th anniversary, and average tenure for us is probably still between 10 and 15 years. So we've got really long tenured employees. And the sale in 2021 to LFM Capital, fantastic private equity group out of Nashville, Tennessee. That was the first big exposure that a lot of our teammates had to change like that. And
Mhm.
it was managed really well. We worked really hard to communicate about it, make sure that the important things stayed the same, and that the things that we needed to change or the things that create opportunity for us did change. And that's been largely good for everybody involved. And then we not only grew organically, but we grew through two acquisitions, which is that helped us start moving north towards 100 million and really start growing our profitability as a percent of sales. And then integrating those two employee groups or teammate groups into ours, integrating, not only the business operations, but the values and the culture elements and honoring what was great with those companies and allowing that to inform part of who we are, but also, maintaining the core of who we are. And then ultimately strategically breaking up Rainier to now have two of the business units go to the Look company. It's just required constant communication. And what I've found, Wayne, is the best tool is just transparency, being real, allowing people to be respected, to have information because a lot of people aren't given information, and then being allowed to draw their own conclusions, even if their own conclusion is, I don't like that change very much. They're free to say that within our organization. Now, ultimately, we're really clear about the direction we're going. And if you don't want to be a part of it, we like to say it's a want to, not a have to. But if you want to be part of where we're going, you have to want to. And we give people that freedom. And more often than not, people choose to want to do that because
Yeah, it
they've got
sounds like
that freedom to work through it, and they feel respected by it. A lot of times, I think people are so smart that we've talked about this before the podcast, but you try to have a pre-prepared message and you try to snow people, and they smell that coming from 100 miles away. But when
absolutely.
you're real with people, they feel empowered. They want to be part of it.
Well, you're obviously doing a lot of things right. If you got this kind of 10 to 15 year tenure as your average, and as you say, truth and transparency goes a long way. And
Yeah,
if you do that well with your organization, they're going to trust you, and they're going to believe that your vision is probably the right vision more often than not as well. So I think the key metric is the success you're having. I mean, very, very soon after this kind of new aggregation of companies and moving divisions, you're already seeing the positive results in your sales and your growth. And that wouldn't be happening unless you had all these things aligned in the right way. So big congrats for that to you and the other members of your
yeah,
team.
yeah. Really pass that along to all the teammates that make it happen. It's neat to be part of it.
Yeah, that's important as well. Well, you mentioned culture as a part of that. In this podcast, there's a lot of cultural kind of um, exploration that we do, and it comes up as a theme more and more often that it is really important. Not that you have a plaque on the wall in the entryway,
Right.
but you have some key principles that everyone can embrace, everyone knows, and everyone lives it every day. And so when you're aggregating different organizations, I'm sure the values and the the beliefs and values and the the cultural norms of the organizations were slightly different, but I'm sure there was some alignment. And the fact that you're being able to pull those things together, pull them together quickly and effectively is also a big compliment to what you're doing. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, in this program, Chris, what we do, as you know, is we look for leadership lessons in the key stories of key executives like yourself. And so, tell us a story, set it up for us, give us some background, let us understand what was going on. Could be a big hurdle that you had to go over. It could be a big success that you put points on the board with. And then let's kind of drill down and talk about what some of the leadership lessons inside that might be.
Great. I've got a good one for you. The setting is actually the global pandemic, which began at the beginning of 2020. And there was a lot of uncertainty for folks globally, truly during that time period. And what we found, I think, collectively as a society, is that there was some opportunity to continue to create value and grow during that time period. But we had a pause before that really took off. And during that pause, a lot of the supply chain mechanisms that connected us globally shut down for a period of time, or if nothing else, scaled way back in terms of the volume going through them. And then as demand restarted for goods, I think in the United States anyway, it was a lot of durable goods
Mhm.
and durable goods, tied to home improvement. And as a manufacturer of products in that space, specifically exterior power screens and exterior retractable power awnings, and
Mhm.
custom and tied to both home building and remodeling, we were producing and selling a lot of those during the late part of 2020 and into early 2021.
Mhm.
And for a lot of those structures, they require boxes that are probably on average about 15 feet long, sometimes plus or minus, and this weigh maybe 100, 150 pounds, and largely shipped prior to that time through the LTL space, so less than truckload, and going to a dealer base of over 200 dealers across the United States, from one of two different regional hubs for manufacturing, either in Seattle or in North Carolina. And we got a letter in late August of 21 from Old Dominion, who was our primary LTL carrier, letting us know that there would be significant changes to any boxes over 8 feet in length. And the backstory on that is that the 800-pound gorilla in LTL shipping is FedEx Freight. And FedEx
Right.
Freight had so much demand going through for their cross docks and all the other resources that they have, that they decided to slap a huge penalty on anyone that wanted to ship anything longer than 8 feet. Well,
Mhm.
immediately, businesses follow incentives. They move to all the other carriers, Saia, YRC, Old Dominion, others like them, ArcBest, that ultimately didn't have those kind of penalties or fees. And so initially what we heard from them is that, we're going to start adding some penalties and fees. But then the tidal wave of work became so great that they really even said to us, like, we can't even accept your over 8 foot freight.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
within about 30 to 45 days, we had to figure out an entirely new plan to get these products to our dealers and ultimately to our customers. Initially, we found another LTL carrier, but those prices almost doubled, and it got to the point where,
Wow.
yeah, it almost made the product itself less expensive than shipping the product, which put us in a
Mhm.
really unattractive spot economically. And
Right.
ultimately, what our team did, and this was just on their own, I didn't drive this as CEO. It was a collective effort. We built good old-fashioned kind of delivery, almost like milk runs to grocery stores. We just figured out different runs across the United States and started contracting or renting trucks and figuring out how to build the most efficient routes to get to our different dealers across the US. And it was a bit of a moving target initially. And one of the things that we've always believed in is customer success, and that starts with knowing and understanding your customer. And
Right.
there were some things about LTL that were actually pretty unattractive, lost boxes, boxes that were damaged or destroyed. Now, well, maybe we have an opportunity to fix some of those things that we know that our customers don't like, and
Sure.
maybe now permanently improve the situation. But you have to learn what your customers are going through. And I even did this once. I jumped on a plane down to Miami, one of our largest dealers, and one of the first trucks that was sent from our North Carolina facility down to Miami. And imagine getting in the back of a truck in August with about 40 or 50 boxes that are 16 feet long, all stacked on top of each other, falling over the top of each other. And so the first time we unloaded those, we were like, okay, good idea, but this really isn't going to scale. And then we got our engineer involved, our manufacturing engineer involved, and said, how can we start building racking that we can store this stuff on and go inside trucks? And ultimately, fast forward that today, we actually own our own trucks. We still do some LTL shipping, but we own our own trucks and now have our
Right.
own drivers with trailers that go around and deliver these. And we have a competitive advantage that other manufacturers, OEM manufacturers like ourselves, don't have because they responded to the pandemic in a different way. So I think that the neat lessons there are, you kind of, what is the Mike Tyson statement? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. What people miss about that
Right.
is that it's what you do afterwards. And so, we definitely got punched in the face, but our team got right back up, continued to not only fight, but innovate. And now we have a competitive advantage. Now, that happened to be one of the business divisions and business units that stayed behind with LFM Capital and is doing well in that. And
Hmm.
I'm still an investor and actively cheerleading for that business. But I think that
Sure.
was a really neat story, Wayne, of how
Yeah.
we responded to adversity and the teamwork involved, customer success, and then ultimately leading to, I think, a distinct competitive advantage for us.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. There's a lot of good stories about companies that pivoted during the COVID experience, right? So this is a different kind of pivot. You didn't have to pivot with your product. You didn't have to pivot with your supply chain coming in. This is the supply to your customers going out. And
Yeah,
I like the fact that especially that your team looked at this as an opportunity to improve some of the other things that were already problematic with
right,
the shipping, like the damage and the lack of, custom built racks and those kinds of things. So it really it highlighted for them in the face of a problem that you had to solve. It highlighted for them an opportunity to how to just do things better, and
right.
that actually. So how much value of the total value of the solution was it that the racking and the damage control and the better customer satisfaction, those kinds of things, how much of that value really was delivered on that part of it?
The total savings of the program is over seven figures annually. That's very meaningful.
That's the
Yeah,
savings from what you would have paid for the shipping overall. But that
right.
also got, maybe that isn't the metric. It doesn't even capture the customer satisfaction increase, the less damage,
Yeah,
less warranty follow-ups and those kinds of things. Interesting. I was just wondering, it's probably
yeah.
10, 15, 20% on top of that, isn't it?
I would think so. It's really tough to measure customer
Right.
satisfaction and loyalty in terms of a,
Right.
a, a quantified dollar in that. What I can tell you is customers love it. I mean, it
Yeah.
the problems with LTL we already mentioned, stuff lost, stuff damaged, but then you don't have really control over when it shows up. And
Right.
for a lot of
Right.
our dealers, labor is their biggest cost. And if they've got to have
Yeah.
labor sitting around to unload a truck and they don't know when it's going to come, but now you've got a driver that's, say, picking up donuts or picking up some cookies or something, and they're calling when they're 30, 40 minutes out. Now our customers they don't have to pull it's normally installers for the product. They have to pull them off of revenue producing jobs and makes it a lot
Right.
more convenient. So makes it sticky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really interesting just to drill down for a second on it. The employees that you have, the teammates that
Yeah,
actually came up with this solution, and you give them direct credit for doing it,
absolutely.
they must have had some real confidence that they had the rope to be able to create this solution, to tie this knot, to make it happen. So good on you and the leadership team that you've given them the empowerment and the authority to create solutions and to think out of the box. And maybe it goes back to something you said earlier about how you create an environment where people pull together. It's okay to fail. Everybody's
Right.
doing their best. I mean, I think that's really an impressive fact that they dug into this solution and they did it on their own. It was something they presented to you, right? Is that how it went down?
Ultimately, I don't even know if it was presented to me. I just sort of
Yeah,
stayed on top and monitored it and cheerleaded,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
got involved as I needed to kind of message it. But really, they just took it and ran with it. It does come down to our values, Wayne, and I maybe I'm finding a way to insert these in here, but we use them so differently in other companies. I think it's an interesting topic for those that are listening. We don't have a lot of the ones like, trust or collaboration or other things. Those are good things, by the way, and they really are. And for companies that live them out, they're the right ones, but ours are a little bit different. One of our values is delivering results, but it's like a two-sided coin, and the other side
Mhm.
of it is kindness. So the more you want to push hard, and sometimes it's with internal stakeholders, sometimes it's
Mhm.
external stakeholders, you've got to also be kind at the same time. And so we were never rude or mean to any of the LTL carriers, but we also pushed really, really hard. And when we figured out they couldn't get the answer for us, we just went somewhere else. The other side
Mhm.
is bearing a lot of responsibility. Responsibility is one of our values. And then on the other side
Mhm.
of that one is having fun. And sometimes that
Mhm.
responsibility can feel overwhelming. And you could say to yourself, oh man, the sky's falling. Our carriers are all
Yeah.
gone. It's like, no, wait, we have the responsibility to deliver results for our customers. Let's have some fun with it. Let's be creative. Let's do something that maybe others aren't doing. And then what wraps all those four around is it's all about the customer and the customer's success.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you put those values together, and I didn't have to tell anyone what to do. They just automatically knew. All right, we gotta deliver results. We gotta treat each other within our values. And every once in a while we get outside of it. Even I get outside of those. I get heated. I get intense. But I think one testimony to our values, as I expand on these, is it's when we acknowledge that we got it wrong and we have to go back, own it,
Mhm.
apologize, and then make efforts to change our behavior. It shows you that our values are real. And there's also been times when people have wanted to let me off the hook and say, well, that was a stressful situation and a stressful day,
Mhm.
and you're the CEO and you've got a lot of pressure. And I said, no, guys, the reason we have these values is not on the easy days when everyone can live out our values. It's on the tough days and those tough moments. That's when they're most important. And they've gotten us through a lot of sticky situations. That story is one of them, but
Yeah.
so many different parts of our business having alignment around those values. We hire based on them. We talk about them in our employee feedback and reviews that we do. The awards that we give are all tied to our values. And ultimately, we've separated with some top performers that really couldn't get on board with our values. And I think that also sends a message as well.
Absolutely, it does. I'm so glad you shared the specifics of the values because it's very clear for all of us to see now why you were able to create these solutions. And I also love the fact that will point out, or you'll point out yourself when you get off base with them,
Yeah.
and you don't let yourself off the hook. I mean that level of integrity in the organization that everybody's responsible for their wins and for their losses when they're moving away. And the other thing is, walking the talk. If you let a very talented employee go, or they move away from the company because they couldn't meet the values, that sends a stronger signal than any words that you're ever going to deliver to them in a speech, right?
Yeah.
So it's about living your values in a company, and good on you that you've done that. And then you can see this story really demonstrates the fruits of that philosophy and how it actually bears itself out in the real world under some heavy problems and some real cost constraints that you had there. I mean, being more costly than your product is just a non-starter, and now you've got an ongoing solution that's serving you well. So really great story and a great leadership lesson. So if you could sum it all up, does it start all the way back with just the truth and transparency that you mentioned earlier? Does it start with the values, or does it start with just the integrity of the organization? I mean, then summing it up, what's the foundational element?
All those were ingredients, Wayne. The one thing I think is missing there is talented people and teammates. We really work hard to bring talent into our business. And
Mhm.
I think that we were all caught off guard by the message, but nobody looked to blame or say anything about the situation that you know, I don't know, the focus wasn't negative. It was just on what do we have to do? And I think that speaks to the talent and the quality of our people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. As we kind of move to wrap up our conversation today, Chris, I'd like to ask you a couple questions that I typically ask our guests. And the first one is it could be about what we talked about today or something else, could be personal, could be professional. What would you tell your younger self if you could go back, say, 20, 25 years, and you wanted to give yourself some advice before you started this leadership journey that you're currently on?
I would have talked to myself about the theory of constraints and specifically where I needed to focus my time to really multiply my positive impact on the organization. I'm naturally a curious person. I love to figure out how things work. I love details, and I can also go big picture. And I've held the organization back for a number of years because of that innate curiosity and involvement. But I realized over time that there were so many areas that the business needed me to be looking at and identifying constraints, and I wasn't doing those. I stumbled across a book called "Great CEOs Are Lazy," and I
Mhm.
hated the title because I don't like to think of myself as lazy.
Right.
I think
Who would?
I was
Yeah.
taught to value hard work, but really
Mhm.
what that book taught me was that the different hats that you wear as CEO and spending more time on bringing good talent into the business, looking at the architecture of the business and the business model, and then the kind of the engineering of the business, what the processes are, and finding constraints in those areas. I wish had known about that sooner. I might have still fought it because I'm a pretty stubborn person, but maybe that would have helped me through some of the mistakes and challenges I've made. I feel a lot more like a 333 hitter as
Mhm.
CEO. Some of them are swings and misses, and I think that we've been successful in spite of some of those mistakes I've made as a leader over the years, just because of the quality of our organization and our people. But really honored to have the role that I have, and I now know those lessons. So now the goal is to apply them to my life and our business today.
Live them out. Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I have to say that no one's ever shared understanding and embracing the constraints to the extent you need to. But it's so important as a leader to understand that so that you don't drive the organization directly into walls they can't get through and
Yeah.
that you guide them in the right direction. So we appreciate that. All right, well, let's imagine you and I are having a coffee. 20, 30 years from now. And we're talking about the things we've done in our life and our career and thinking about what we're most proud of. Probably not the constraints in this example.
No.
What would it be that
Yeah.
you're telling me you're most proud of?
Yeah, I'm an inside out person. I've been married to a beautiful woman named Theron for 23 years, and none of my success means anything if I'm not daily investing in my relationship with her and turning towards her and making sure that, my duty first to her in terms of enabling, the success and what she wants to get out of life together as a couple. That starts there and kind of builds outwards to my three daughters. I got three beautiful girls. One now is out of the house and doing her own thing, and two others that are, doing great things as they wrap up their high school career. And then moving outwards to my friends, a lot of whom I played football with in college, but others that I've met along the way that have created similar meaningful relationships. And then professionally, all that I do. And I find kind of working inside out like that really helps things make a lot of sense. And even when I work long hours or travel or things like that, that model seems to work. And, if I think it comes down to making commitments to yourself and making sure you've got that kind of alignment that I just described, and then delivering on those commitments. And I hope I could sit down, hope to get coffee with you in a period of time in the
Yeah.
future, but can sit down and look back and say, yeah, I did deliver on those commitments, and grateful for all those around me that make me
Yeah.
better.
Well, that's definitely admirable and a worthy legacy for any of us to leave because as I tell the people I coach and the businesses I work with, it's really all about the lives you touch and how we can move together toward a higher expression of ourselves. And it starts with the family and it moves on through friends and extended family and then colleagues. And like you, I've had a few successes in my career, won a few awards, made some money for the companies I was working for. And all that's great. I love to win as long as it's not at someone else's expense. But the thing that really makes me happy is when someone I care about, or someone who's a friend, or someone I used to work with, calls me up and just wants to visit or ask for a piece of advice. Maybe we just reminisce about some of the days we worked together and the team environment we had. All of that is a beautiful thing. And so I admire your answer to this one because it is all about the lives we touch. So And thanks for being open and personal and giving in this conversation today, Chris. I think it's been a tremendous conversation and one that the audience will appreciate for a long time to come. And I think if more of us could think about who we are with respect to our team, as you clearly do, and have that servant leadership humility that's necessary to really take a team to the highest level of performance and give them the space to create solutions like you demonstrated they can when you do that empowerment, that we'd all be in a better place in business and in life. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, great to be a guest on this, Wayne. Love what you're doing with the podcast, and look forward to continue to listen to future episodes and pick up some tidbits that I can put into my own life and business. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, excellent. Well, last thing I want to say, if someone wanted to get in touch with Rainier or wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a web address or an email address that you would guide them to?
We do. www for all these. TheLookCompany.com is our new owner, and that's globally going to be how we're largely going to be doing business. We still have our legacy name, and that's Rainier, like the mountain in Washington,
Hmm.
RAINIER.com. And you'll see a little bit about our legacy businesses, which will continue on, and that the Rainier brand will continue. And I'm on LinkedIn. I do the best I can to respond to messages as well. That's probably the best way to reach out and find me.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Chris.
You
All
betcha.
the
Thanks,
best.
Wayne. Appreciate it.
God bless.
Yeah, God bless you.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks for being with us. If you like our conversations, please feel free to hit the subscribe and like buttons. And if you'd like to make comments, ask questions, or even explore being a guest on this program, you can reach out to us via email. It's Wayne@greatroad.com. That's WAYNE at GR numeral 8 ROAD.com. And until next time, always remember the high road leads to a better place.